After months of demonstration, reports suggest that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu may withdraw his controversial judicial overhaul bill. The Prime Minister has been under pressure from all quarters, especially after he sacked his own defense minister. On Sunday, Israel's defense minister Yoav Gallant had given a statement calling for a halt to the process of passing the judicial overhaul plan. Under pressure from widespread protests, cracks had started emerging within the ruling coalition since Friday. Israel's economy minister and its culture and sports minister have called the current situation untenable and have said that if Netanyahu decides to stop the legislation, then he should be backed. But the Netanyahu-led government has won the confidence of the House. It survived two no-confidence motions filed by the opposition. Earlier in the day, Israel's president Isaac Herzog urged the government to call a halt to the planned legislation, which has ignited some of the biggest nationwide demonstrations in Israel's history. Several sectors across Israel are on strike. More than 20 mayors across the country are on hunger strike. Israel's key airport, Ben Gurion in Tel Aviv, at one point announced that it halted all takeoffs before resuming a few hours later. Workers at Israel's largest port, Haifa, are also on strike. Universities have also announced strikes. Shopping malls are closed. Even McDonald's is closing all its restaurants across Israel. The judicial overhaul, which would give the executive control over appointing judges to the Supreme Court, allows the government to override court rulings on the basis of simple parliamentary majority and has drawn mass protests for weeks now. Okay, for more on this, we are joined by Mohammed Al-Qasim, Middle East Bureau Chief for Media Line. He's joining us live from Tel Aviv. Thank you so much for joining us on WION, Mohammed. We are now hearing that Benjamin Netanyahu, coming under pressure, may actually decide to step back and withdraw his judicial overhaul bill. Is there a possibility for that?
Well, it looks more like it right now. The Prime Minister is under tremendous pressure from all parties, whether domestically or internationally, especially the United States. But the word out is that Prime Minister will give a speech later on in the day today, which has been postponed. I mean, since this morning, we've been hearing that Prime Minister Netanyahu is going to give a speech announcing his position and his coalition's position on the possibility of either stopping, withdrawing, or suspending the judicial reforms he intends to push further in the Israeli parliament. But the word now is that he is going to announce in a speech later this afternoon the suspension, not withdrawing, not ending, but the suspension of the controversial judicial reforms that he and his coalition have been pushing for, and in hope that it will basically put at ease and convince the thousands, hundreds of thousands of protesters to go back to their homes, to go back to their work. Today, the whole country, in all practical terms, the whole country is paralyzed. The airport is workers are on strike. The all ports are pretty much brought to halt. Hospitals, the health sector, even the Israeli ports have been have shut down. There has been tremendous pressure on the Prime Minister, and that's why what we're hearing out of his office that he may suspend his proposed judicial reforms.
Very interesting. And is this the last that we'll be hearing about this so-called overhaul, considering the fact that many experts believe that, you know, at the end of the day, this fighting has been going on for decades and it's been politicized for decades now, hasn't it?
Not at all. And as long as Prime Minister Netanyahu is the Prime Minister, I don't think, and he has the same coalition that he has right now, I don't think that we heard the end of it. What we are hearing is suspending, maybe stopping the demonstrations, appeasing the demonstrators, going into some sort of mediation under the auspices of the President Isaac Herzog, and giving the impression that he is pursuing maybe a different path. But the whole thing about these controversial judicial reforms are pushed by not only Mr. Netanyahu, but also other figures within his coalition government. And the top two are Smotrich, the finance minister, as well as Itamar Ben-Gvir, the national security minister, who both aren't really enthusiastic or seem to be willing to give up the pushing and making sure that these judicial reforms, as they termed it, are going to stop. And if they are not satisfied by some sort of a promise by the prime minister, who himself is on trial right now on 3 different corruption cases, and he needs all the protection that he can get, that means his whole coalition will collapse, and we may be facing another election here in Israel. So the prime minister is being careful about how to pursue and approach this whole issue. He wants to give the impression that he's listening to the streets, he's listening to the hundreds of thousands of people out on the streets who are demanding an end to what they call a dictatorship here in Israel. But if these controversial judicial reforms are being, passes. But Smotrich and Ben-Gvir promised that if they don't get what they want, and if these reforms don't get passed, then they will pull out from this coalition, which basically brings an end to this short-lived government, and we may be facing another elections.